great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings of self-nature. I vow to cut off endless vexations of self-nature. I vow to practice numerous, practice of self-nature. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood of self-nature. Okay, welcome to you all. Today we're going to be going back into turning the mind's eye inward. It was very funny because I was going on the internet and I found these two good articles on it, and I found a lot of useless things, especially some AI stuff that no, that's not quite it. And you can see the difference between AI translations and interpretations and pontifications, and what it just doesn't fit with Buddha Dharma, because the AI doesn't have a heart, so it can't possibly talk about that. It can parrot people, but when we get to something as let's say obscure or profound as turning the mind's eye inward, there's no way it's going to be able to come up with something that can explain it. But the two articles that I ran into was very interesting. One of them was a speech that I gave, or a lecture I gave back in September of 2019. If you wanted to go back and look at that, it's actually not a bad lecture on that, and I'm going to try not to just talk about that in the same way. And that was on September 30th, 2019. And then the other one was on a Lions Roar article from last year, June 1st, 2024, on the heart of Buddhism, where I talked a little bit about this turning the mind's eye inward and Buddha nature. All of these things are all connected together. It's not something that we can divide out, but it goes to the profoundness of what I'm presenting to you, because what I present to you is something that is deeper than what normally you would receive. Sometimes in the Tibetan practices, they can go this deep in some schools, but it just depends on the school and depends on the persons. And there too, it requires you to put in a lot of time before you can get there. And this just seems to have been the way that people talked about how one could practice. And I ran across an article from a Tibetan side where they were talking about this kind of a practice. And let me see if I can find it. This was from a Theravadan discussion of the Eightfold Path, and they're saying this: according to Theravadan Buddhism, mundane right view, and they're talking about right view here, and saying is a teaching that is suitable for lay followers. So mundane right view is this right view that's the knowledge of the fruits of good behavior. So if you want to be a good person, then you can follow this and do good and don't lie, don't steal, follow the precepts, and that's your mundane quote unquote right view. But it's not really right view in terms of that. But that's why they call it this mundane. The super mundane one, which is the world transcending right view, is the understanding of the Four Noble Truths leading to awakening and liberation from rebirth, and associated with suffering, dukkha, in the realms of samsara. And according to Bhikshu Bodhi, this kind of right view comes to an end of the path, not at the beginning. According to Theravadan Buddhism, mundane right view is a teaching that is suitable for lay followers, as I mentioned, while super mundane right view requires a deeper understanding, is suitable for monastics. That really stuck me hard, saying that it's only suitable for monastics. Looking here, there might be one or two monastics sometimes join in, but I don't believe that. I believe that that is a vestige of way back when they were talking about that women couldn't be a proper vehicle as well. This kind of a thinking is, to me, is wrong. And if I'm going to be critical, I would say that because of the fact that I truly believe that since everyone inherently has Buddha nature, they have the ability to have this kind of a deep, profound understanding, or more importantly, a realization of Buddha Dharma, that one can begin to realize the true nature of the mind. And I hesitate to say your own true nature, simply so that you move away from the idea that you, separate and apart from others, have true nature. It is simply that true nature permeates everything and runs through all consciousness. It is not a separate true nature. It's not even a separate consciousness. It's not even a separate self. Although we believe it to be that way, it is the illusion that gives rise to the idea that there's a separateness between us and that there is this idea of a self. When we turn the mind's eye inward, we are no longer looking at things from the idea like a jack-o'-lantern. Some of you may not know what a jack-o'-lantern is if you're coming from Asian roots or Asian countries, but it's a giant pumpkin that you carve out on Halloween night, and you put a candle in, and it shines outward so that you can see the light shining outward. And it may have a funny face, or it could have a scary demon face to it, whatever. But when you turn the mind's eye inward, you can look into those holes there, and you see, wow, it's just nothing but a carved out pumpkin with a candle. And a candle is lighting there, and it's giving the impression that there's this light coming out. This is turning the mind's eye inward. Once, quite a long time ago, I had a student that I lovingly called Pumpkinhead for this reason. And I'd say, "Oh, you're Pumpkinhead, you're talking to me now." No, and he understood it, but it was my reminder to him is, don't hold on to this idea of the self. There's no reason to hold in this way. Let all of that go. And so that you see things very clearly by turning the mind's eye inward, we go and say, look, there's not a self, there's not a problem, there's not a suffering here. This idea of this profoundness only limited to monastics or scholars or for people that have been practicing for 20 years or whatever, that's baloney. You, just like Master Ling Chi said, as I see it, none of you are incapable of getting it. He didn't have a class of people standing before him that were so well read and studied. He just had a general audience in front of him, maybe a lot of monastics there, but it was still something that everyone has this opportunity. Sometimes intellect can get in the way. And I have a lot of times when people come in here and they're all full of intellect, and I have to break them down, not in a bad way, but simply break the self down so that they can see clearly, so that they no longer attach to classifications, categories, levels, which are really bad sometimes when people attach to levels. What level are you? I think I'm at the second bhumi, or whatever bhumi, I'm at the first bhumi. You know, don't think that way. You just practice. Don't think about levels. Don't think about getting anywhere. But when we turn the mind's eye inward, all of that goes out the window because there's no self. It is just simply mind looking into mind. And it's difficult sometimes. And when I read things, and even I read things of my own, you know, I'm using the conventional we or the conventional I or you. And I say conventional means we use it in order to be able to follow a flow, because we can't just say, does this or that, which is mine. So we use I, me, mine, or you and us or whatever. But it isn't really in this way. We have to retrain ourselves to to practice this idea of a right view is to see things exactly as they are, not contrived or conceptualized, because once we already get into the conceptualization of things, we're lost. We're in samsara. We just fell out. But when we understand that the mind can hold all of these things without holding on to them, then it gives a different meaning. Think about this story. It's one that some of you may have heard before, but it's very incredibly profound. It's more profound than what you think it is. And it was about a nun who was walking back from a well on a moonlit night, on a clear moonlit night. And she looked down into the bucket and she saw that the moon was reflecting on the surface of the bucket. And just in that very moment, the bottom fell out of the bucket and whoosh, it was all gone. Everything was gone. Because her practice was sincere and she was ripe at that moment, she obtained a realization, a very deep realization from that happening, to understand this reflection in this way. We often think about um, the finger at the pointing at the moon. Where is it at? There it is. I can see it right there. It's pointing to today as a full moon. So if you go outside, you'll be able to do that. And if you follow your finger, you'll be able to see the moon. Really, truly? Can you really see the moon? Is it in this way that you can see that the moon is there? What moon is that? And where did that moon come from? And will it be there tomorrow, or will it be lesser, eventually be gone? Will it come back, rising and falling, rising and falling? So we move away from these ideas of conceptualization in terms of this. And actually, this Lions Roar article I wrote, I ran into this and I said, some describe Chan as the finger pointing at the moon. That is, the practice points a person in the direction of the Buddha mind. But to really see and experience Buddha mind, a Chan practitioner might hone in on this question: whose finger is pointing? You could say that the moon is watching the finger pointing. It is in this way that we turn the mind's eye inward. You see the difference? It's like you go up and say, where is the moon? Oh, I can't tell you, but it's just that way. But there's something looking, I can put this on the screen, looking at that finger. It's looking right at that finger that's there. That's mine. So if we want to complete this metaphor in a proper way, it is the moon looking at the finger that some illusory sentient being of self-nature is pointing. This is turning the mind's eye inward. In this way, which is right view, it is not really a view. It is not really a subject and an object. There is not a Buddha in the firmament, in space, looking at you, pointing a finger at the Buddha. Even any of that would still be conceptual. So there is no Buddha to say, who are you talking about? I'm not conceptual. Of course you are. You just opened your mouth. What? There's no what. What? You see, you can get trapped in all of this. But turning the mind's eye inward is simply the mind absorbing everything. This is when we talk about self-absorption, it's not that the self absorbs everything, it is that the self is absorbed by the mind. Then what is absorbed? The consciousness, this consciousness that's a sticky consciousness, is absorbed. The consciousness itself already belongs to mind. It is unstained, undefiled. It's neither pure nor impure. It is just what enables the mind to contemplate. It is the stuff that sticks onto it that then is absorbed by the mind. It's neither sacred nor profane. It pulls in everything. Once everything is pulled in, there is nothing to see separate and apart from mind. In this moment, then, mind is resolved. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen in the snap of a finger. But we have to practice in this way. When we practice in this way, it changes the way that we see things. And it was there from the beginning of Chan with Dharma turning the mind's eye inward. That was wall gazing. In his cave, he opens up and just simply sees the wall of the cave. Understand, after the years that he spent sitting there looking at the cave wall, it didn't really change. Maybe during the day and the night, it would look different, but it really was the same cave wall. This is the absorption of everything. Was he engaged in a state of no thought? It wasn't a mental state. It was simply the returning of mind to mind. This is different. So again, I've got about 10 hours worth of material at least, or much more than that actually. And I'm trying to fly through it and touch on things so that you can get a feel for this, because I want you to feel this lecture rather than try to understand it. And then I ran across this wonderful gem, and this was actually part of something I wanted to talk about, but I realized I'd need about 5 years to go over it, not 1 hour, on Asanga's Mahayana Samgraha, which is actually wonderful. But this was at the beginning of it, and it's kind of a compilation of things that fit wonderfully together. They fit like they just lock in. And so the first stanza says, myriad dharmas. So myriad, and here is uncountable phenomena, are only mind. Mind is unobtainable. Truly, how are you going to do that? How are you going to find a big enough container to hold mind? Even if you got one the size of the universe, then you realize how many other universes would you need to fit in there? It's not going to fit. Again, you're going to need a bigger boat, a bigger container, because it cannot hold it. It's unobtainable. So what is there to seek? So what can you seek? What can you get from looking for mind? You can't get it. There's nothing there for you to hold on to. If the Buddha nature, this is the second one, if the Buddha nature is seen, there will be no seeing of a nature in anything. This is so incredibly profound. If the Buddha nature is seen, there will be no seeing of a nature of anything. That would be duality. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings of self-nature. All belong to Buddha nature. We have to readjust, recalibrate the brain to the proper settings. We've got them set at such a low level that it can only comprehend things that are conceptualized, that are created by the mind. It has no ability to realize mind, only that which is created by mind. And it's like you sitting at the door of the factory, where the product goes out, and seeing all the things coming out of the factory and believing that this is mine, but you never delved into going into the factory and saying, what is the source? How did it get created? That's what Shakyamuni Buddha first taught, the 12 Nidanas. He's telling you how these things are created. He's not telling you to make a better product. He's telling you by the profound understanding of this, the mind will naturally project in the proper way, in a harmonious way. It is this that is taught. If we try to search for some big, deep meaning, some moon rock, even if we got a piece of moon rock, this would have been very good maybe 50 years ago before they went on the moon. But it's almost 50 years, or maybe 50 years, since they landed on the moon and brought a bunch of moon rocks back. But is that the moon? Can we say that little piece is the moon? It's not separate from the moon. But it doesn't shine like the moon, does it? We can't find the moon in that piece of rock. Yet its nature shines radiantly. We cannot understand that. But we can realize it, and if we realize it, it does help. Let's get to the next one. Neither cultivation nor seated meditation, this is the pure chan of the Tathagata. So neither we cultivate nor do we sit in meditation is the pure chan of the Tathagata. Chan here, the dhyana, is a true practice of the Buddha. It is not in this way. Yet we're constantly reaching for this and thinking in this way. It's okay. It's second level. It's all right. It will enable you in other lifetimes to pick it up. But there's nothing to say that if you really worked on this in this lifetime, you can pass right by that. You don't need to start there. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't cultivate. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't meditate, but with right view, turning the mind's eye inward. That cave wall looking at Bodhidharma, looking at that one that is sitting. This is a reflection. In everything, the mind is reflected perfectly. The first one we said, the myriad dharmas are only mind is unobtainable, is Huang Bo. And it says, what is there to seek? The second one was from the Nirvana Sutra, and that was, if the Buddha nature is seen, there will be no seeing of a nature of anything. It's also incredibly deep. And then the third one, neither cultivation nor seated meditation. This is the pure Chan of the Tathagata. This is Matsu, the Chan master. And the final one is from Master Yongchia, from the Sword of Wisdom. And it says, with sudden enlightenment to Tathagata Chan, the six paramitas and myriad of means, and myriad means uncountable means, are complete within that essence. So this sudden enlightenment to Tathagata Chan is to realize mind, to realize that everything is Buddha nature. Apart from this mind, there is no other. That it is not a one. It is the source of everything. This right view is not a view at all. It is simply the realization that mind is mind. Apart from that, there's nothing else, neither sacred nor profane, nothing to pick up or to put down. The paramitas belong to the demonstration of this understanding or realization. These are incredible little snippets that can help you quite a bit. What I tried to do is put them on the Mindwork forum so you can study them some more, set them aside. If I don't do that, just remind me to do that. Where do we go from here? Again, I have a lot of things, so I want to touch on things. Or we'll go back to the. Give me 1 second. There is a term, samyana, Samyama, and it actually originated from the yoga school, but it's still part of Buddhist thought, because the yoga school and the Buddhist school at some points were formulating, and there was a lot of cross-pollination within that. Some of the things that were there, and they had their own Eightfold Path. Their Eightfold Path was a little bit different and more oriented towards self-cultivation, whereas the Buddha Eightfold Path was oriented towards the cultivation of self-nature, which is different, you see. One of them is trying to get this body all perfected and following the breath and following the prana through the body, we call chi, all sorts of things like that, where our Eightfold Path was more oriented towards the practice or the demonstration of the practice. But in this term samayana, and this is a Sanskrit one where it says that is combined simultaneous practice of dharana, which is concentration, dhyana, which is meditation, and samadhi, which is union. Union just simply means that in that moment there is a holding of the concentration and holding of the method of meditation, so that there is a union. It returns to the source. Later, then that would be something that is seen as this perfected samadhi, which gives rise to vipassana, or illumination of the mind. And it is this that when you're thinking about, when you're practicing in meditation, these components have to be there. This concentration has to be there. The meditation has to be there, the right meditation, and bringing forth this samadhi. Now, samadhi, if you start studying samadhi in and of itself, you'll find so many different references to samadhi. It will begin to confuse you in terms of which is the right samadhi, or this samadhi of this, samadhi of that. We talked about the samadhi of the illusoriness of things last week, and which is certainly a great samadhi. And in this particular definition, they say samyama is a tool to receive deeper knowledge of qualities of the object. And here it's a little bit twisted, but it's saying it's a tool. To me, I would say it's a tool to stabilize the mind, to enable the illumination of the mind. If all of these are present, then the mind will naturally become stabilized and will be naturally illuminated. It is a term summarizing the catch-all process of psychological absorption in the object of meditation. This is definitely a Western term. You know, somebody is bringing a bunch of analogies to bring in and to make it understandable to the Western palate. When we say a catch-all process, no, it's not a catch-all process or psychological absorption. Psychological indicates that the consciousness is real and that this is absorbing all of that in some psychological way, in some kind of a clinical way of the object of meditation. It cuts through all of that, and it is simply just turning the mind's eye inward so that none of those things that are appearing stick in mind at all. It is just simply the stabilization of the mind. When we say to turn the mind's eye inward, you can't say that just simply as a sterile term apart from everything else. It doesn't work in that way. So here in this samyama, it is the direction of the mind, this purposeful directing of the mind to something. Here it's directing the mind to sit in meditation. Apart from that, there should be nothing else that should be functioning in the consciousness at that moment, other than simply whatever the elements of a proper meditation are there, nothing else should be present. If it is present, it is squeezed off and not given any mind attention simply by the directing of the mind to its purpose, which is to sit in meditation. So these side thoughts and concurrent causes that are arising that are there, they fade out. They just go out on their own. We don't have to look at them in this way. When we direct the mind towards our method or our function, if we're up and about, then it isn't to the exclusion of all of these things, but those things have no relevancy with respect to what is happening and what needs to be there in that moment. How one plants seeds. Some of you are here because I planted seeds in you a long time ago, and you're here and you're listening because those seeds took hold, and this wisdom, you started thinking about this and going, that's kind of interesting. What is mine? I really don't know what mine is, but I want to know. So this kind of a interest and understanding that there's something wholesome here enables you to do that. And we as practitioners in our life follow the same purpose, that we're essentially these farmers. Wherever we go, we plant seeds. And around us, what do we have? Do we have weeds, or do we have fertile crops and strong fruit? You are not even the fruit I'm looking for. I'm looking for the fruit that you will bring in, that you will harvest. I'm the fruit of Master Sheng, but it wasn't that his intention was to teach me. His intention was to present things so that I would also produce fruit. It is in this way that we understand the purpose of our existence here, turning the eye inward. Then we understand this. We see this. We see that it's not about us. We're not in the equation anymore. What we're doing is we're looking into mind, directing the mind in some mechanical ways to practice meditation and to do things. But on the other hand, we're like opening up these wonderful flowers, these lotus flowers that are opening around us. Wherever we look, I see lotus flowers of people that are cultivating. And this is what's important, is the meaning of what we're doing, the meaning of our practice is to share this with others. It is not about getting out of town by going to nirvana. If you want to go to the Pure Land because you feel inadequate here or not able to do that, so be it. But just maintain the vow of returning back to help others after you think you've stabilized the practice. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the whole point of our practice, the whole point of the turning of the Dharma wheel, was to move away from the idea that one is escaping. Where are we going to escape to? Isn't the dream that we are in what we call samsara, an illusion, a phantom, a dream? Isn't it already in mind? Where are we going to break out to? The Christians, they talk about that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. They don't understand this. They think that if they do this and they do that and they do that, then they get to go to heaven. There was once this old man, and he instructed his wife. He was a bit miserly and stingy, and he realized he was going to be dying soon. So he said to his wife, please, do me a favor. take all my money out of the bank. Now, he's not caring about her. He just says, take all the money out of the bank, put it in a sack, and put it in the ceiling above my bedroom. And she says, why should I do that? He says, that way, when I'm dying, I can grab hold of the sack and take it with me to heaven. Later on, because she was old, she finally went up into the attic after he had passed away. And she went and she saw the bag was still there. And she was like, oh my gosh, I should have put it in the basement. You guys don't get the joke. He was going to hell. but in any case, we don't follow foolish notions. No. Right view and turning the mind's eye inward, it's seeing things as they really are. And in this, then we understand the purpose of having this body. It's precious. It's incredibly precious. And then when we read the Dharma, we realize, oh, this is like the owner's manual to this. How many of you have opened up something, start working on it right away, and you never bother with the owner's manual? No. And then you find the owner's manual like 2 years, and they say, whatever you do, don't press the red button after you press the red button. But in any case, the Buddha Dharma is like that. You find out where the red buttons are. Okay, we continue on. Back to the right view and the Eightfold Path and the ideas from a bit of a Theravadan note. Gombrich, which was not a philosopher, a Buddhist scholar, notes that there is a tension in the sutras between right view and no view, released by not clinging to any view at all. So the idea here is he's saying there's a tension of saying this is right view and this is no view. But in essence, what he's saying is just mind and no mind. The same thing here is that there is an illusory tension there, trying to rectify what appears to be a contradiction when we say right view and no view, because we're saying, how is there to be a right view? If we say right view, then that means that there has to be something that's wrong. Whereas if we say no view, then we say, well, there's no view there. Like I'd mentioned, it's not really a viewpoint as in duality. This cannot be rectified, this contradiction, in samsara, because you'll just be constantly be turning with this idea of, then if it's no view, then it's not really, it's nihilistic, there's no view or anything. And the mind will just keep spinning like a hamster on a wheel, getting nowhere with it. That is a tension that can come with this, where then one has the tendency to want to throw it all out and say, I don't understand this. I'm going back to counting my breath, or I'm going back to whatever. And you throw it out because this tension, which should give you the ability to be like what one master said, smashing a roof tile against a wall to break it down. Instead, you are banging your head against the wall. It isn't the same thing. But as one uses this in the right way, then what appears to be contradictions are resolved, because they cannot be resolved in samsara, one has to be able to have the realizations. Then all of a sudden, when you start reading things, they begin to make sense. And I know some of you have already reached that point where what appeared to be muddled and confusing then fits perfectly in its way. But it is this that where it's saying to release by clinging to no view at all. It isn't really the release from clinging to no view at all. The release is from awakening to the fact that these are illusions that we were talking about, and that the resolution is not in an answer, a verbal answer or a mental answer, but the realization from mind of what is mind, the profoundness of discovering the source of mind. When one discovers the source of mind, then we turn the mind's eye inward to see everything with this new perspective, which was actually the original perspective that one had, but because of causes and conditions, we lost it. This is why they say there is no attainment, because we never lost it at any point. It wasn't something that we get or we become enlightened to. It is just simply seeing things in the right way. So as we turn the mind's eye inward, it's a gentle turning. You're not trying to twist your head so hard. It's a gentle turning, looking very naturally, very carefully, seeing things as they are, as they're, and using the profound wisdom to look through things. This is what slices through the illusion, is this wisdom of how things work. Okay, we continue on from that. And he talked about two other scholars, and it says Chrysides and Wilkins, right view is ultimately non-view, impossibility of giving full and final expression to his conviction in a fixed conceptual terms. So, excuse me, I missed a line there. A non-view, though the enlightened one sees things as they really are. So he's referring to enlightened one being someone who is awakened to that. Now, he's saying enlightened one, and I'm not sure if, because he's using caps, whether he's referring to Shakyamuni Buddha or to anyone who becomes awakened to how mind works. I will use that term rather than the enlightened one. When is awakened one who is awakened to how mind really works, how they really are. He has a critical awareness. It's an interesting term. It's definitely, social, philosophical world, critical awareness, where we would use the term simply is rigpa, or clear light awareness. Clear light meaning there's no obstructions whatsoever. It sees through things. It sees that all these things are just mine. So, and seeing that, and they continued that it is impossible to express in words the conviction of fixed conceptual terms. So saying that person who is awakened cannot express in words that realization. And that's important, because that's why we say it is beyond words and phrases. It is simply something that that one awakens to, and we can only say that turn the mind's eye inward, and you too, without the you being there, but mind naturally will observe everything, and that is the mind absorbing the self-absorption that's there. So when there is an awakening, The awakening is not that you wake up and go, oh, Gilbert says, wow, I'm awake. I can't believe I was asleep all that time. This world is a dream. Only I am not a dream. No, that was what Shurangama Sutra said. Ananda, that's not your mind. What? It's not your mind. Your mind is so far beyond that. You have a pumpkin head. Don't see things like a pumpkin head. Okay. Uh, One therefore cannot cling to any particular formulation in a rigid and dogmatic matter. And and this is the case is that we cannot use words, but nevertheless we have to use words uh, to spread the Dharma, but we have to use it with the caveat that I I have nothing to teach you, and that's what's important when you understand that, and you follow me until you realize I have nothing to teach you, and then when you realize I have nothing to teach you, then you just follow me to find use my experience to be able to find different facets of the diamond to present to other people, uh, so that then you become one that passes this on. This is why sometimes I cringe about being called a teacher, because I truly am not a teacher. I can't teach you, just like Shifu said when somebody wanted to take a dog back to the um, to the center and say, hey, and you can teach the dog the Dharma. And he says, I have a hard time just teaching you, much less a dog the Dharma. So, and in his way of saying that, it was kind of very telling in terms of that. Um, so I'm going to stop there. There's no stopping or starting point today. There's just some ruminations on mixing these things together from right view and to turning the mind's eye inward. I didn't get into some other aspects of it that are more, let's say, esoteric, um, as to how to do that turning the mind's eye inward. Um, this idea is that you have to um, see things in a way in which, as you come off the cushion, the world is there, you see it there, you see it perceived to be solid, but it's not solid. And you understand that it is created. It's created by the mind, and everything around you that you see, whatever I have, the altar behind me, is created by things that have come together, and the things that are on the altar are there created by causes and conditions. Everything we see is this way. As I look through my room here, I can see all of the things that so-called make up Gilbert, but he's not really real. And but we understand that we live and we function in this world, and we have certain things and functions that we do. Before I used to be an attorney. Now I'm just like a full-time um, practitioner, and literally full-time practitioner. But you do the things that you need to do in this world. This is turning the mind's eye inward, knowing that from body, speech, and mind, you are creating the future moment. You have to understand that. What are you going to plant in your garden? Some of you go, oh, I'm going to plant some carrots and some tomatoes and some corn, maybe a little bit of marijuana. What? No, cultivate properly, cultivate wholesome products. No, don't break your precepts in terms of that. you cultivate what's there, what's good. No, then you will want to share it with other people. Uh, no, I once went to one of my friends who is a seller of stereo equipment, high-end stereo equipment, and uh, when I went to his house, he had a little garden, and his garden was all marijuana plants, surely for medicinal purposes, I believe. But in any case, he offered me some, but I didn't have an interest in it. I didn't want to say, oh, you're going to hell because you're smoking weed. No, it wasn't in that way. It's his choice. But seeing me there made him feel a little bit more, let's say, retrospective as to whether his conduct is correct or not. But I never said one thing negative to him uh, about that. It is just simply that we understand that whatever we do and we radiate from our heart has a bearing and can change the environment around us. It's something that's very important that we do everything from body, speech, and mind. So please be mindful. This is turning the mind's eye inward and understanding how everything works. We don't walk around and going, "Why did I get a flat tire? Why did this happen? Or why is this person doing this?" We understand causes and conditions never fail, but we again have patience to endure it, and the virya, the effort to be able to apply things in the right way. So much to tell you in so little time, or as Willy Wonka said, uh, so little to say and so much time to say it in. Okay, we finish for tonight. Amitofo. Take questions. No questions. Easy night.
Yes. Question.
Wait, is that
Question. 玉萍.
okay? Go ahead. You have to speak loud though.
So, yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Just get closer to the mic if you can.
Oh, okay. So, in your last Monday's lecture, you quoted from Master Da Xing.
Okay, say that again. I realized my volume was down.
Okay, so during last Monday's lecture, you quoted from Master Dao Xing.
Yes.
One line is causes and conditions are just dreams and illusions.
Yes.
And how do we, I don't know, understand that with what you just said tonight? Everything is made by causes and conditions.
Yes.
I don't know. To me, they seem a kind of contradictory. Probably because I know I don't have your level of realization. Could you help me
Okay.
understand?
Your question is an excellent question. It's a question that you should be having. I commend you on that because a lot of people they don't quite understand this, but they're afraid to ask the question. But you should ask it, and you should also keep asking yourself that because this is a turning phrase for you. I mention that quite often. Turning phrase is when something doesn't seem right, but you can't really refute it, but you don't understand it, and it appears to be contradictory. But yet there's another part that is kind of savory, like a very something tasty to it, but it's still that not quite. You can't quite get to it. That is when you have something like that, what you do is you just go directly deeper and deeper into it, So this kind of an idea where you say this is an illusion, when one is speaking, we have to understand there in Chan there are two levels of speaking. One of them is in samsara, and we talk about things in samsara and talk about conceptual or conventional things. The other one is in Chan itself, with the understanding which is outside of samsara, where we see from, let's say, the Heart Sutra, where they say there is no wisdom nor any attainment. There is suffering, cause of suffering, cessation of suffering, and there's a path. This is from inside samsara, and that we have suffering, and we are subject to causes and conditions. This is from the samsara. But outside of samsara, this third turning of the Dharma wheel in the Heart Sutra says there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering. How then, this is representative of the contradiction that you have, how can you do this? And if you look at Master Ling Chi's instructions for beginners, um, he talks about in two places. One, he talks about how people they have to be mindful about karma, or they may end up in the belly of a donkey or a cow, meaning that they could end up in the animal realm because they're ignorant. But then a few paragraphs down, he says, actually, for 12 years, I've looked for this thing called karma and haven't found anything even the size of a mustard seed that could be called karma. Those appear to be contradictions, but they're not, because one of them is coming from outside of samsara and saying this is all a dream. The other one is when one is in the dream and doesn't understand it, that suffering they have is real to them. And so and as a result of it, they suffer. Just like if you have a bad dream, in that dream, before you wake up, it appears to be real. But upon awakening, you saw that it was just an illusion, a phantasm, something that happened, that caused you to have that kind of a dream. So these are not separate. The idea of the noble truths and the emptiness of the noble truths, the answer is in the middle. So you have to find, I'm always talking about the middle way, and you just keep playing on that. Please keep playing. How am I going to do this? The middle way, whatever it is. Now, no, before I used to eat the donuts. Now I only eat the middle part, the whole. Well, sometimes people can say, "Well, did you eat the whole donut?" No, the whole ate me. But in any case, just kind of playing on words. But the thing is, it is in this way that you begin to understand that there's these contradictions, apparent contradictions, but they're not really. It is something for you to go to the middle. That's very important for you, that you can just go to the middle, find the place in between. This is why Nagarjuna had the two truths of one, apparent reality, what appears here, and we think that this is real, and absolute, which in that way, the apparent reality is real because it appears in mind, but it's not real because it is arising in mind. It is not the fundamental base of mind. The fundamental base of mind, again, we cannot know it. It is like what was said here, the myriad dharmas are only mind. Mind is unattainable. What is there to seek? And in this way, and I'm post this because that will help you understand how um, how this works. We see these contradictions, and then we understand that that we keep shooting for the middle. There's something there, but it will help us be able to pacify the idea of the apparent reality and not try to reach for the absolute reality. It's there in this middle that I talk about. One day it will be clear to you. It is because you seek, you will find it. Okay. When you give up seeking, then you've lost it. But if you really seek, it will come to you. So keep going with that. Hopefully that will help you a little bit. Okay. And don't stop asking questions. That's a
Oh
good
yeah,
question.
many questions.
Well, just bring them along. We'll get to the others. If you have another one, then
Well,
we'll answer it.
I'll
Okay.
probably see you in Michigan. I'll ask.
Okay, that's fine. We're going to have a whole group of people in Michigan, and actually I was just talking to Li She about that today, and we're making plans for you guys to come there and have before the actual little mini retreat to come together and pose these questions. Sometimes in the Michigan retreat, it is what is generally afterwards that there's more profoundness in the teaching. So, yes, you're very welcome. Okay, Renee.
Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you so much for your profound teaching. I like to check some my understanding with you. So my question is the purpose of turning the mind eyes inward. Is it to discover that the mental movements are illusory and to see them clearly so that we won't unconsciously cling to them and be carried along by them. So then we are able to manifest the mind's function of compassion and wisdom.
Yeah, just don't put the we in there or the I, um, and then whatever you said will be appropriate. When you say when we are doing, just say that mind is doing that. Just a tiny little uh, bit of correction. And I know you're speaking conventionally, and I often speak that way too. But in terms of how you're doing it, and for me to answer you in a proper way, I want you to understand that when you turn the mind's eye inward like that, you see the things, then the mind will naturally demonstrate all the paramitas, all of the Eightfold Path, the 37 factors of enlightenment, all of those things will naturally appear in mind, and it will direct body, speech, and mind, because you mind is directing all of that, because you have now become aware that's all created by the mind. So what you want to do is not be reactive to things. You want to be proactive. Okay. So the mind is proactive. It doesn't react to things, even if something happens or say, Gilbert, you're so stupid, or, you're wrong. And then it doesn't get up and say, what do you mean I'm wrong? Let's go, let's fight. My master can beat up your master or whatever. It's not in that way. It's proactive, where one is very subtle about how they respond to things like that, and subtle in a way in which it doesn't reflect an ego. And so we understand that it belongs to that person, not to mind. If it belongs to Gilbert, then it's no longer mine. It falls into the samsara. But when we operate on this different level, you are such a proper candidate to do things in this way. You already have a pureness to you, that is something that can easily do do this part, and compassion, and just, make sure that the wisdom is balanced with the compassion, and it will work. So just keep doing it the way you're doing it, and it will work. Okay. Don't think this is my world, this or that. Just say, you could say, this is my world to change the environment, because everything's created by the mind, and you direct the mind to make it better. So it will work little by little, but it's good. You're on the right track. So keep going the way you're doing. Okay.
Thank you so much. Very important direction for me.
Oh, you're welcome. And anybody else? Tom. Okay.
All right. Good evening, Gilbert. It's good to see you. One of the quotes you read today, just absolutely stunning. No seated meditation. What? Would you just say a little bit more about that? That was such a striking thing to read, and I don't even begin to know what to make of that. If not seated meditation, I mean, I understand the practice is varied, but surely this is our cornerstone, right?
You're right, but don't call me Shirley. That's a yoke. Some people got it. It is and it isn't. Our cornerstone is right view. If we simply sit to try to meditate, if you remember last week, I talked about the in the Vilamakritti Sutra, where Sariputra was under a tree, sitting in repose, and the Vilamakritti came by, the layperson, and he told him, "This is not sitting in repose. What you're doing, sitting in repose is being, concerned to people. Sitting in repose is to do this, to do that, all of these different things." But he was telling him, don't think that crossing your legs is going to get you anywhere. It's not, you have seat time. You'd be like an Uber driver, an Uber person, where you sit there and you set the meter and say, oh, I sat for 8 hours. I've got, 8 hours of good time points for realization. It isn't in this way. It is the idea that as one sits, we hone the ability to stabilize the mind. And in the stabilization of the mind, whether one is on the cushion or off the cushion, it's not relevant. When you get up off the cushion, then you're really in the game. Sitting down in meditation, you're just practicing how to stabilize the mind. So when you get up off the cushion, because if you sit there and say, wow, look at Tom, he hasn't moved since last spring, he must be enlightened, look at him there. Maybe people will get faith because you sat for so long. No, but other than that, did you do anything to advance Buddha Dharma? So the thing is every moment is an opportunity to reflect Buddha mind. When we're on the cushion, we're reflecting Buddha mind for our practice, but it's limited in what we can accomplish just sitting on the cushion. So it's not that we throw the baby out with the bathwater and say no meditation, but we understand is that it isn't simply the act of crossing the legs and not talking and trying to stay awake that brings a realization. It can work that way, but it's the long way around. When you use right view and bring right view to the cushion, you are not meditating. Mind is simply sitting. Mind looking into mind. You are not there. And so I understand when you're looking at it in that way, and it's good that you have that kind of an opinion about it, because then you think, well, this is, I need to do this, but this is level 2 practice. Level 1 practice is just look at the wall. Like Bodhidharma said, just gaze at the wall. That's it. What more is there to it than this? And then when we do that, when we get up off the cushion, everything is wall gazing. Whatever we see, it is in the same way, even though it appears to be moving, there's consciousness and whatever else. The mind is stable. So this is what you're doing when you're sitting on the cushion. You are not trying to capture the flag in some kind of a game to say, "Oh, I got realization." Actually, the when I began to get realizations was when I decided to put down getting realizations. I just went, this is ridiculous. I'm just sitting here and I'm just spinning my wheels like a hamster on a wheel and getting nowhere because I'm keep trying to get somewhere and there's nowhere to get to. And then right after that, boom, these realizations started hitting. Not because I was looking for them, but I induced the environment for mind to be able to reveal itself. I hate to call it itself, reveal mind. And so it is in this way. So it's okay. Don't panic. You can still meditate. It still will work for you. It's just that you understand what you're doing on the cushion. This is very important, Tom, because when I go to retreats, I ask the people, what are you doing on your cushion? You know, if you don't know what you're doing on the cushion, get off the cushion. You know, you're wasting your time and you're wasting the oxygen in the Chan Hall. You know, come back when you know what you're doing. This is the difference. So when you're meditating, you have to know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, good, it will work for you. I'm very, very happy. But if you can't do that, then it's the long way around. So because I teach a direct method, this is the manner of the mind directing mind. And just keep playing with that, and then you'll feel comfortable on the cushion. You're not going to be fighting yourself on the cushion. Okay? Hopefully that made some sense for you.
Yes, I think so. It's really a great iconoclasm what you're saying. It's almost the opposite of no meditation. It's that once one, as you say, knows what one is doing, the meditation comes off the cushion. It gets carried with you. In fact, I think I even heard Joshu say something along these lines once to a monk, put down everything and what you can't put down, carry away.
Yeah, exactly. It's in this way where we put everything down and we there's just sitting and the you doesn't have to be there in there. Little by little you'll get it. You know, you become well read, but the thing is that now you have to convert it to the new coin of the realm, which is the esoteric, which is beyond words. And it's fine, you know, yourself is going to object every once in a while, and that's okay. You know, little by little, you won't pay attention to that. And then you'll see, oh, this fits quite quite perfectly in there. No, where before it appears to be contradictions and you're bucking your head against things, it won't be that way later on. So just stay around, be patient with it, and it will pay off for you. And I see that Lily is putting an advertisement for Michigan, so that's good. And Joanne, did you just join? Were you the one that was just joining?
No, I was just shadowing the background, but I'm back to San Francisco. So meeting Songcha, who just attended your retreat, Gilbert, recently, meeting
Uh-huh.
very, very soon. So yeah, just want to pop up here and say hi to everyone. And I
Oh,
miss
hello. Yes, please. Anytime you can make your introductions, and after we kind of formally go off, we tend to chat a little bit. Anybody else have questions? Okay. Ideal. Where'd she go? What happened to her? I see you there, but you have to unmute. She came and went, but you're still here. No. Okay.
Can I ask one more or no time?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Okay, Letty.
Okay.
See you later. I missed you in San Francisco. All right. Bye-bye.
Well, okay. It's also from Master Dao Xing's text.
Go
One
ahead.
line it's also okay. So this line is also from Master Dao Xing from last week. This line says, "You are free to abide in the spontaneous nature." So this spontaneous really stay with me all week.
Yeah.
Trying to feel. So does that mean like even the 12 nadana, it's only a dream, an illusion, and things just happen without any rule or logic? What is this spontaneous about?
Spontaneous means that it doesn't go through any filters. It doesn't have to think about, oh, Gilbert, you better come up with something really wise to say to her or something of this way or whatever. It just starts talking because it's just like what one student asked the master Shifu, what is Chan? And he said, ask me a question. And it's in this way. So if you ask me a question, I'm demonstrating Chan. So spontaneously, whatever comes up, whatever is there, whatever needs to be there, then is appears. And is said, there is no sticking thoughts to whatever is happening. Whatever you need, then I become that. And so if you have questions about spontaneity, the spontaneity can function so quickly because it's not tied to some kind of ones and zeros processing, like a line of processing where it has to come up with it and wait for the ego to say something. It spontaneously responds, very vibrant, very wise, very compassionate. In that moment, everything just comes out naturally as it should to express whatever the meaning is or the purpose in that moment of this sentient being communicating with other sentient beings in this way. But it is the mind that is communicating with the mind of the other sentient being, and it's spontaneous and it is reaching for that person to extend this kind of an understanding to them in their ability to understand. If it's just something very simple, they speak to them simply. If if they're very high level, then it changes, And one, for instance, one Rinpoche, I was talking to him and giving him my answer to a very complex question, and I just simply went, now if you understand Chan, maybe you might be able to feel what that communication was, but that's on a different level. But one can speak to people on other levels and even still have that channel open as well. But people have to be able to settle themselves to be able to get the information from that channel. The good thing is you don't have to pay extra for it; it's free. You just have to get the right box to tune into it. The right box is wisdom and compassion, which you were talking about already. So it will work in this way. One day you'll be able to hear that. It's what we call the tune on the stringless lute, but it speaks volumes. It shatters worlds. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Gratitude.
Oh, you're back. Did you get your microphone fixed? Ideal. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can. Good.
Okay. Thank you. I was really struggling. So, thank you so much for this tonight's session, Gilbert and everyone. So, the reason why I wanted to speak is half like commenting on something and maybe half questioning about something. What jumped out of me from tonight's lecture is your comments about spreading Dharma and sharing what we learned with others. So we help everyone to turn the mind, help them turn mind into to mind. I may not be speaking the right terms, but but what I found difficult lately, or have been, is that it's difficult to get the points across, especially people in higher ranking positions. No offense, but like when I'm speaking to lawyers or like executives, and people are like questioning right and left, and I I mean, obviously, I'm not in the level that I can bring out facts, or try to or say things that they can or encourage them to think from a different angle, maybe. But I just find myself like always kind of not succeeding, almost like getting the points across. So there's this old saying, right? Like you can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. So I always feeling like I was stepping back and like thinking, oh, maybe it's not their time yet. But is it like an excuse that I am kind of creating for my failure, or is it like me not being able to extract myself? So it's not like mind to mind talking to them. What is causing this, and what would be your suggestion?
Well, the thing is that we don't proselytize as Buddhists. We demonstrate, and you're not going to get people who are, let's say, devout Christians to agree with you. They are quite scared of what you're talking about, and they automatically reject it. And it's a very funny thing, because if you say, what is your religion, explain about God, you can tear them up. I'm not saying I'm anti-Christian, but the Christian religion is one in which has quite a few uh, um, contradictions in it. Um, for instance, there's like 8,000 heirs in the Bible, which is an 800-page book. That's quite a few. But the thing is, we don't try to hold them up or challenge them unless people want to use those techniques to do that, and then they they begin to really wonder about their own religion. We don't take people away from religion, but the thing is you can just simply talk about wisdom and compassion. You don't have to tell them everything is unreal. They're not going to be able to believe that whatsoever, that they're a dream. But so you just do your best. And just what I do is I find common ground, and I use quotes in the Bible to support my positions. And for instance, as I had mentioned, the kingdom of his heaven is at hand. When one says the kingdom is at heaven is at hand, it means just in this moment, whatever we're practicing, that is that is heaven or that's hell, depending on what we do. We don't have to wait to try to go somewhere to get to heaven. We make heaven or hell here.
Mhm.
And so then we begin to explain to them what their quotes mean. And then they cannot dispute the Bible, because then they're disputing the verses of the Bible. So I use that quite a bit, but of course I know quite a bit about the Bible. I know much more than most of the practitioners that study the Bible. Because that's part of what I do in terms of studying things, and so it's important to do that. But you don't have to do it. You just have to hold on to what your parts are. Don't try to say you're not real, because it's not going to be something that's easy. It's like you talking to kindergartners, and telling them that they're not real. They have no ability to understand that whatsoever. So just use patience and compassion, and to tell them the things that are common, in terms of things. If they're Catholics, and you talk about Kuan Yin and the Virgin Mary, and this interest in the suffering of others. And so that they try to criticize you, they're criticizing people who are advancing compassion or wisdom, right? And so don't try to take them to the outer realms of Buddhism, because they're not capable of understanding that, and they'll be resistant to it. But when you teach them the things that are fundamentals, that are basic, then their attorneys will be look for the things, and they're going to say, unless it's a pretty nasty attorney, they're not going to say, well, who the hell cares about compassion? That would be a stupid argument to make, right? So you see, you stay within the realms of things, and again, you utilize their own Bible uh, to explain things, about wisdom and compassion. So you don't deviate too far from that. No, it's very few and far between where somebody wants to challenge me. I normally don't do that, because being a former attorney, plus, studying Buddha, Dharma, plus Christianity and other religions, I'm not someone that you really want to debate with. But you don't have to win anything. You just have to present. So just understand their limitations in terms of when you talk to people. Whenever I talk to my family, all I talk about is wisdom and compassion, and understanding and harmony. And they all understand that. If I started talking about other things, then they'll shut off right away. And so you just find the right way to do it. You'll do it. You'll find it. It's just by practicing that it'll come to you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. All right. Okay. Well, we went into overtime, so no. I guess it'll be time to finish. Tori, if you can PM me with your phone number, I want to talk to you. Okay. Hopefully, you heard me.
Yes, I heard you. Thank you so much, Gilbert. I will PM you your my phone number.
Okay, good enough. Thank you very much. All right, I will see you guys next week, and we'll come up with something else. Today was a potpourri of right view and turning the mind's eye inward, but I hope it was something that fit all together. Again, if I had a few more hours, I could download all of it onto you. So, Mina, I see you're back in town, so that's good. You made it. She was traveling all over the Northwest. So, anyway, okay. See you guys. Bye bye. Thank you, Eon, for picking up the slack and doing this. So, Amitofo to everyone. Bless you.